All right. All right. Hello, hello. Welcome, everybody. Welcome to. We're lagging a bit. Give me just a second. Okay, I think we're okay. Welcome, everybody, to a very early morning stream. It is about 7 a.m. my time. This is a sponsored stream. Right off the bat, I'm going to let you know this is a sponsored stream. This sponsor is the same guy who sponsored our last stream, Jeremy. Give him a shout out, Jeremy in chat. Basically, he wants a stream, right, on being paranoid about panic, afraid of panic coming, right? So it's something that holds a lot of people back, just being paranoid that you might place yourself in a situation where a panic attack is possible, therefore you avoid it at all costs. So not really experiencing panic attacks on a regular basis, right, but more or less being afraid of potential panic. So that is the sponsorship for the day. That is Jeremy's concern, which I feel like a lot of people can relate to that, right? Not necessarily experiencing panic attacks during your sensitized recovery bout, but being paranoid about experiencing potential panic attacks. So I feel like that's something that a lot of people can relate to. I've got a few notes written down here on this. If you would like to sponsor a stream, all you got to do is hit our tip goal for us, DM me, and let me know what you want the stream to be about. So second sponsored stream by Jeremy, so shout out to him. Jennifer first in chat, Steph second. What's up, guys? Thank you for the purple hearts, Jennifer. Yes, get those purple hearts going. 3 days on the tip goal to do the sponsorship. Mint, what is up, Mint? Welcome to the stream. You're number one to me, Steph. All right, guys. All right. Let's see. So anytime we do a sponsored stream, we don't wait around too long. We've already got our topic. We know what we're here for. We knock it out, right? So, and he actually said, I don't know if many people would want to see this topic. I don't know if many people would enjoy this topic. And I disagree. I think a lot of people will actually benefit from this topic because, again, this is something that I could relate to in the past myself, being paranoid about a potential panic attack, which causes you to avoid putting yourself in the situation to begin with, so we can never really work with it because your fear of panic keeps you from doing things that might cause panic, right? And therefore we can't really move forward. So like I said, he doesn't seem to believe that a lot of people be into this topic, but I think a good amount of people will be. I feel like this is a pretty common fear, obviously, fear of panic, and therefore you're not placing yourself in the situations that we need to place you in order to overcome that. So that's what we're going to be talking about. Jennifer says, been there many times. Yes, I feel like this is probably a more common thing than most people realize. So we're going to jump into this one, man. We're not going to waste any more time. Let's get this music out of here. But good morning, everybody. Welcome to this very early morning stream, the sponsored stream. Hope you're all doing fantastic. So again, paranoid about potential panic is what we're going to be talking about today. I've got a few notes written down here, so we're going to jump right into it. Give me just a second. We're going to jump right into it. Good morning, Kate. Hello. Good morning. All right, guys. All right, so let's start at the top here. Paranoid about potential panic. So the first thing that I've got written down here is that it starts with a thought, right? It starts with a thought that's not accepted. So that's the very first thing that sort of happens in this chain of events. The thought comes in, right, that if I do this, I'm going to experience panic, right? And that thought is not accepted because it seems like a very important thought that is, you deserve, you should chew over that thought because that seems like a very important thought. It's a very personal thought. The thought says, if you put yourself in this position, you may experience a panic attack. So the first thing that happens really in this chain of events, you could say, for, avoiding potentially panicking in situations is a thought. That's really the first thing that happens in this chain of events. A thought comes in that says, if you do this, you might panic, or a thought comes in that says, we might panic in this situation. So the first thing that happens is a thought arrives predicting that, this situation may cause panic, right? So that's where it starts. So it starts with a thought that is not accepted. It starts with a thought that is not accepted. Now, ideally, what you would want to do in that situation, of course, is use the same advice that we've always used here on the channel. The thought comes in and says, if you place yourself in this situation, you might experience panic. Of course, we don't want to engage with that with any sort of a fight. We don't want to play that up. We would say something along the lines of, you know what, if I panic, I panic. You don't have to mean that. You don't have to 100% believe that. As long as you're not fueling that thought and fighting with that thought, non-engagement is always the way to go when it comes to thoughts. Now, these thoughts produce feelings. We accept those feelings as well, but we do not engage in a big fight with a thought. We just use a non-engagement response, or what we call the accepting inner voice. So the thought that comes in that says, hey, you might experience panic if you put yourself in this situation. If you fight with that, of course, you're not going to put yourself in the situation, because if you fight with that, you're going to go down the rabbit hole, and by the time it's all said and done, you are going to avoid the potential panic. You're going to avoid it because you fought with that thought. You went down the rabbit hole. Now you're really worked up. Now you're really stressed out. There's probably no way you're actually going to move forward and put yourself in a panic-inducing situation if you have already fought and began fighting with the thought that says, hey, you might panic here. So that's where the chain of events starts. It starts with a thought that comes in and says, hey, you might panic if you do this. You start to fight with that thought. Oh no, this. You go down the rabbit hole. And of course, by the time you're done there, you're not going to actually move forward. So the first thing that happens in the chain of events is the thought that says panic might happen if you put yourself in this situation. If that thought is not accepted and it is instead fought with, right, you're going to go so far down the rabbit hole that there is no way you're probably going to do the right thing, right? So first and foremost, we do not fight with the thoughts that say things along the lines of, hey, you might panic if you get put in this situation. Okay, then I might panic. Okay, then I will panic, right? And again, you don't have to have 100% confidence or belief in that. It's a non-engagement response. It's the accepting inner voice. As long as you're not going down that rabbit hole, who cares about the details, right? So first and foremost, the thought must be accepted. The thought that predicts that panic might happen if you do this must be accepted, right? Now, the second thing that I've got written down here is a lot of people, and I said this at the beginning of the stream, a lot of people are held back due to their fear, panic, right? Now, here's the part, oh boy, here's the part that a lot of people don't want to hear. Here's the part that a lot of people wish weren't true. But the fact of the matter is, a lot of people are held back due to their fear and panic, whether they realize it or not. They are afraid that if they face things or do certain things that they may panic. So a lot of people are held back by their fear. Now, the only way that we can overcome that, so of course we accept the thoughts that predict panic. We accept those. But the only way we can actually overcome the root, which is afraid of panic, is to, does anyone want to take a wild guess, right? Does anyone want to take a wild guess of the only way that we can overcome that root fear of panic? You have to work with it, right? The part that nobody wants to hear, you have to work with it. You have to go through it. You have to face it. That is the only way that you'll ever overcome your fear of panic. So again, the chain of events looks like this. We accept the thoughts that predict panic. Oh, panic might happen. Panic might happen if you put yourself in this situation. We treat that as an intrusive. It is the same as any other sort of thought, right? So chain of events, we accept the thoughts predicting panic, right? We treat those thoughts just like any other thoughts. We don't go down the rabbit hole with them. We accept them. And then the second part of this chain of events here to overcome your fear of panic is we have to learn how to work with it. And the only way you can learn how to work with something is, guess what? To put yourself in situations where panic might be possible. To put yourself in situations and to face things where panic might be possible, right? So how could you ever overcome your fear of panic if we never get to work with panic? Now, that is the part nobody wants to hear, because that involves, okay, now I've come to the realization that I'm going to have to put myself out there. Now, you can go at your own pace. This is not something that you have to tackle all in one day, right? Because again, sensitization and panic, two different things. Sensitization is a tired nervous system, takes time to heal. It normally doesn't involve panic, but it definitely can involve panic. So two different things. But panic itself and overcoming the fear of panic, there's only one way to do that. There's only one way you can go about that, which is to put yourself in situations where we can work with the panic. How can you overcome or lose your fear of something if you are not working with it? How can we overcome or lose your fear of something if you are not actually facing it, right? That's not something that can necessarily be done outside of it. It's something that has to be done inside of it. So here's a little tip. You're never going to feel ready for that. You're never going to feel ready to start working with your panic. Now, of course, you can watch the streams, you can watch the videos, you can gather knowledge, and these are all good tools to have. You have to have these tools, right? But if you've been on the streams and watched the videos for a while, you've already got those tools. You know what your job is mentally, that non-engagement, accepting inner voice. You know what your job is physically, positive behaviors. You've already got that knowledge. So you've got the tools, and now comes the fun part that nobody wants to admit to, which is we have to now work with the panic. And of course, like I said, you can go at your own pace. You don't have to throw yourself in what you might personally consider to be your most anxiety-inducing and panic-ridden situation, right? So on this hierarchy of fears that you have, you don't have to go straight to the top. You don't have to go straight to the number one thing that's going to freak you out the most. You don't have to do that. You know, in order to work with panic, we just need to experience a little bit of panic. That doesn't mean you've got to go to the extremes. It means that you can take it at your own pace as long as we are moving forward, right? So the only way to overcome the fear of something is to experience it with a new attitude. The only way to overcome the fear of something is to go through it with a change of perspective, right? Same thing, perspective, attitude, accepting inner voice. You've got the advice. Now we have to put it into play in the heat of the moment. That's the only way you're going to learn. That's the only way your brain's going to learn, in that heat of the moment. So, again, another just piece of advice, you're not going to feel ready for that. If you wait until you feel ready for that, you're probably going to be waiting a very long time, right? You're probably going to be waiting a very long time. So I wouldn't wait around telling yourself things like, you know what, I'm going to wait until I feel ready to overcome my panic. I'm going to wait until I feel ready to practice with my panic. I wouldn't wait for that, because you're not going to feel ready. If you've been on the channel for a while, you've got the tools, you've got the advice, and we need to start to implement them even when it comes to panic. And again, I know sensitization and panic are two different ball games, but if you think about it, they're more or less treated the same. We don't go down any rabbit holes. We face, you keep yourself accountable for what you tell yourself while you're experiencing the feelings, and you embrace them, right? So two different ball games, sort of, but not really. So you've got the tools. But even though you have the tools, you're not necessarily going to feel ready. Okay. That's like trying to say, I'm going to wait until I feel completely confident to tackle this thing. Confidence is built while you're tackling it. It's not built beforehand, right? Learn the tools, learn the advice, but understand that the confidence is not built beforehand. It's built during the heat of the moment. It's built while you're tackling this thing. So I'm going to go over those two key points again on this subject. It starts with a thought. Right, so there's two things going on here. The thought of, oh, this may cause panic. We want to accept that. We don't want to fight with that. We don't want to argue with that. So that's where it starts. It starts with a thought. This may cause panic. This may be a panic-inducing situation. We want to accept that. The second thing that happens, right, is we start to put ourselves in situations that may provoke that panic, and then we work with it, because you can only work with it while you're going through it, okay? So paranoid about panic, fear of panic coming, that is sort of the general chain of events. That's what you need to expect. But there's a lot of people, man. There's a lot of people who are paranoid about panic. There's a lot of people who don't want to do certain things because they're afraid it might bring about panic. Again, we want to accept those thoughts that predict panic, and then we actually want to start facing it. We want to start doing things that might produce it, right? Now, you may surprise yourself. It may not come at all, but if it does, you've got the skills and you've got the tools. Now here's another thing I'll say. A lot of people wait until they feel ready, which again, I said you're never necessarily going to feel ready. But here's another thing. When people make the decision that they're going to go towards their panic, they're going to face their panic, of course, they're waiting to feel better. Right, they're waiting to feel totally confident before they do that, but they're forgetting that even if they don't necessarily succeed at facing that panic, nothing's going to happen, right? So that's another thing. A lot of people think, I need to wait until I'm ready to face this panic, because if I'm not ready and I don't have these skills perfected when I face this panic, man, it's going to be the end of me. Right? It's going to kill me. It's going to be the time that I go crazy and lose my mind. Here's the thing. Even if you totally fail, right? And I don't even like to use that word, but even if you totally fail at facing your panic, which means you start adding second fear, you're freaking yourself out, you're fighting with the thoughts, you're fighting with the feelings, even if you totally fall flat on your face and fail at accepting that panic after you've decided to face it, guess what'll happen? Absolutely nothing. Eventually the panic will come down, you'll return to your normal, just sensitized state, and so be it, right? Or maybe you're not even sensitized, maybe you just deal with panic and whatever. But the point is, the only reason people are waiting until they feel absolutely ready to face their panic is because they're afraid of what the outcome will be if they don't succeed. They are afraid of what the outcome will be if they don't succeed at facing that panic. So they're waiting around until they feel ready to face the panic, to face it, right? Because they're absolutely terrified of what might happen if they don't succeed at facing it. And I'm here to tell you, the only thing that will happen if you don't succeed at facing it is that you freak yourself out, you scare yourself, so be it. Eventually the panic will come down. Eventually you will get out of the situation. Eventually the situation will pass. You'll return to your so-called norm, right? So that would be the last thing that I would have to say about this topic is I feel like the number one reason people avoid facing their panic is because they're afraid of the dreaded outcome of what will happen if they don't succeed at facing it. But the only thing that will happen is the same thing that you've probably experienced many times in the past. And if you haven't experienced it, I'm here to tell you what will happen. Absolutely nothing. Absolutely nothing, right? You fail. So be it. That's what happens. You fail. You go home with your tail tucked between your leg, and it's not the end of the world. You face really difficult thoughts and feelings, but again, they don't harm you. They can't harm you. You're not in any danger. It's uncomfortable, and you failed. That's the only thing that happens. You failed. And again, I don't like to use that word, but since we're trying to just be as straightforward as possible, we're going to use that word. That is the only thing that will happen. If you are waiting to face your panic, because you are deathly afraid of what the consequences will be if you fail, the only consequence is that you fail. Eventually the panic passes, regardless, right? Panic can only do so much. There's physical limits to what panic can do. So that is probably one of the bigger points that I wanted to make today, because again, the number one reason I see people avoiding facing their panic is because they are deathly afraid of the consequences of failing at doing so, but the only consequences is that you fail at doing so, and we try again tomorrow, as Dr. Claire Weeks said, right? So if you're coming into facing your panic, if you've made the decision, I want to face my panic because I'm sick of being paranoid about panic, right? So I want to lose my fear of panic. If you've made that decision, that is a great decision to make. But if you are scared and stopping yourself from facing it because, right, from facing situations that cause it, if you are scared and stopping yourself from facing situations that cause it because you are paranoid about what might happen if you put yourself in a panic-inducing situation, panic and then fail at facing it and accepting it, the only thing that'll happen is you have a panic attack. Right? And you're going to have feelings of panic regardless. But that's the only thing that'll happen, is you have a panic attack that you then freak yourself out about. But eventually, it's not the end of the world. It passes. Yeah, I know it's uncomfortable. It's extremely uncomfortable. But the point is, there is no dreaded outcome. There is no god-awful consequence that you will have to pay if you quote-unquote fail at facing your panic. So a lot of people not facing their panic because they are afraid of those consequences, right? If I do this, Wonder Bro, if I face this panic and I don't succeed, I might be screwed. What is your definition of screwed? Because it's not true, right? If you face panic and if you decide you're going to put yourself out there and you're going to face something that you know is going to cause panic and you're going to use that accepting inner voice, you're going to try to see it through, and you fail at that, there is no consequence. There is no deathly consequence that has to be paid. You just failed. We try again tomorrow, like Dr. Claire Weeks said, right? So if you're putting off facing your panic because you are deathly afraid of what might happen if you fail at it, that's all that happens. You fail at it, right? So I think this was a very good stream. I think Jeremy, when he wanted this sponsored stream and he said, I don't think many people will be able to relate to this or want to watch this. No, I disagree. I think a lot of people out there are paranoid about facing panic. I think a lot of people out there are afraid of panic still, even if you don't really deal with panic. Right? I think a lot of people hold that fear in the back of their mind of panic. And I would go out on a limb here and I would say a lot of people who deal with sensitization, I would say there's a good majority of people in sensitization and kept in sensitization because most of their worry revolves around potential panic. Most of their worry, and on the surface, you may disagree. You may say, no, that's not true. Listen, hear me out. I think a lot of people do a lot of worry because they're afraid if they don't tackle these thoughts and feelings that the feelings are going to mount. And whether they want to admit it or not, they're afraid they're going to mount and turn into panic. So I feel like a lot of people are actually still afraid of panic at their cores, right? Now, does that change the advice? Of course not. The advice will remain the same. We're going to face those thoughts and feelings, use that accepting inner voice instead of ruminating and worrying, and positive behavior. So it doesn't change the core advice. I think it's just a good realization for a lot of people to make. Hey, wait a minute. I'm not actually afraid of the thoughts and feelings. Maybe somewhere deep down inside of me, I'm a lot like Jeremy. I'm afraid that they're going to mount into panic. Even if I haven't used that word in a long time, I am afraid of mounting feelings. Right? I think a lot of people, a show of hands, I think a lot of people in chat can agree to that. So, yeah, like when he said he don't think, many people can relate to this topic, again, I disagree. I feel like most people can relate to this topic. So, that's what it's going to come down to at the end of the day, right? That's what it's going to come down to. Thank you so much, Jeremy, for sponsoring today's stream. I really, really appreciate it, dude. Thank you for the support. Thank you for the love, man. It means a ton to me. I hope this stream was satisfactory for you. I think it was a really good topic that needed to be spoke about. So thank you again for sponsoring the stream. Really, really appreciate it. I don't think he's in here right now. He'll probably catch it later. So, but thank you so much. Show some love to Jeremy for sponsoring the stream in the chat. I really, really appreciate it. And with that being said, I think that's everything. I think that's all I've got to say about that topic. I hope it helps, Jeremy. I hope it helps you guys watching the stream. Thank you so much for everything. We're going to hang out with chat for a bit. I'm probably going to be streaming again later tonight, so this might be a bit of a short one. I wanted to just do the sponsored topic, but we will hang out with chat for a little bit. We did a great stream yesterday. That was also a bit of a short one. It was on It Feels Like It's Not Working. If you missed that stream, I highly recommend you check that stream out. I know I've been saying that a lot recently, but there's just been a lot of good topics that we've been speaking about. So recommend that you check it out. Let's just kind of go over the chat for a second and see who's in here. We got Sky, we got Kay. Let's get our music back. We got Mitten here still, I believe. Luis. Let's see. No, we don't have Luis in here. What am I saying? Luis. I'm getting my names mixed up today. I get the practicing building panic response skills, just wondering how the brain interprets it. Let's see. Do you think avoiding going to 10-10 fearful situation might tell the brain I'm still actually scared, or any step closer helps? Any step closer helps, right? That's where we build confidence. You build confidence in the moment. You build confidence, right? So you don't have to go to the extreme right away. As long as we're taking steps towards that objective, it doesn't matter. Doesn't matter, right? But that means you actually have to be taking steps towards that. You can't tell yourself that you're taking it at your own pace, and then at the end of the day, your pace is truly just zero, right? That won't work, because I've seen that happen. I'm taking it at my own pace, Wonder Bro, and the pace is actually zero. So that'll never work. How are you doing today, Sky? Let's see. I'm now learning to be less emotional. You're learning how to accept your emotions and be less driven by them, right? That's a good way to put it. Sorry, Wonder Bro, for talking in class. Hey, it's up to you. You guys could talk whatever you want to talk. You want to hear me out? Hear me out. Let's see. Digging the sponsor streams. How does one make this happen? Just hit the tip goal, and just let me know beforehand. It can't obviously be in the middle of an already going stream. Let me know beforehand. DM me. Let me know that you would want a topic and that you want to sponsor the stream, and hit the tip goal. So you're just covering the tip goal for the stream, basically, for a sponsored stream. Kate is really infatuated with my shoulders. I left a mark, man. I'm gonna have to start doing more TikToks with my shoulders involved, because that has been heavy on these guys' minds since yesterday, man. All right, so this is how we get new followers. They can't stop thinking about it. I got them dreaming. I got them dreaming about me. They can't let it go. I'm gonna have to start doing that more often. If that's gonna get me more followers, I guess we're doing shoulder TikToks from now on. Obviously it works. I'm just saying. Obviously, I mean, read the chat. Obviously it works. All right. What you are experiencing, we all do it, and we all have parts that try and manage emotions, feelings about our feelings. That's why we all respond differently. It's based on historical responses we've had. Yeah, so instead of trying to manage, instead of trying to change what's there, change your approach to how you view what's there, right? Change your approach to how you view what's there. What's up, Lick? I mean, apparently it works. That's all I'm saying. I might just start doing all my TikToks with all shoulder, right? Because apparently it leaves a mark. So, give me just a second, guys. I'll be right back. All right. All right, all right. So we probably will be back later tonight, I believe. Probably will be back later tonight. What music is? Oh, okay. Threw me off for a second. Thanks for stopping by. Appreciate you. Enjoy your yoga. Hey, Wonder Bro, I have a question. I told someone that to respond to OCD, I try to focus on good things in my life and on God. What can I do? And things that are good to do. The person said that's a compulsion. If it is, then what should I do? What is not a compulsion? Acceptance is not a compulsion. So basically, thoughts come in and you accept them. You don't go down the rabbit hole fighting with them. And you just continue to live your life, right? It's like letting it happen in the background, but you're not going down any sort of mental rabbit holes over it. That is acceptance. You don't have to respond with a bunch of positivity to OCD thoughts. You just let them come in and You don't go down the rabbit hole with them. You say, hey, it's here. It is what it is. And you allow the thoughts to come and go, as sometimes they're sticky. But the point is, you don't get into any sort of long, drawn-out mental fight with them. You just say, hey, they're here, and they're not worth fighting with, and you continue living your life. You can tell yourself things like that. That is sort of the accepting inner voice, or the non-engagement inner voice, right? You don't have to respond to every OCD type thought with, focus on God. You don't have to do that. Just allow the thoughts to come in and their presence, and you say to yourself, okay, well, it's here, and that's okay, and I'm not going to get into any sort of mental fight with them. You catch yourself and hold yourself accountable for worrying over the thoughts and ruminating over the thoughts, and you correct that. You don't have to get into and you shouldn't get into a long, drawn-out fight with them, right? You just accept their presence, you accept that they're there, and you give yourself that non-engagement response and carry on while they're there, and you accept the feelings that they bring too. How do we use the two main keys when it comes to hearing the problems in the world that might affect us? Exactly what I just said to Arnold there. Exactly what I just said to Arnold there. If you've got thoughts coming in that want you to chew them over and obsess about them, you accept their presence, you accept the presence of the feelings, you don't get into any sort of long, drawn-out mental fight with them, or rumination or obsession about them, right? You allow the presence of whatever is there to be there, the thoughts and feelings included. I just remind myself not to worry about the thought. Well, that's fine. Yeah, that's like holding yourself accountable. So that's fine. Yeah, you do have to hold yourself accountable. So the thought comes in and you're just saying, hey, I'm not going to worry about that. Just accept its presence and move on. And yeah, that's fine. If that's what you're doing, that's absolutely fine. You do have to hold yourself accountable for your worry habit. So there's nothing wrong with that. That is the advice. Good morning, Wonder Bro. Good morning, Tony. Hello. Welcome. Welcome. All right, guys. So like I said, I will be back probably later tonight, I believe. So we're going to end this one. It was a good sponsored stream. Thank you so much for the topic. I hope I nailed it for you, Jeremy. Thank you again for sponsoring. I really appreciate it, brother. Thank you so much. Thank you guys for watching, man. Leave a like. There's still time. There is still time to go and quickly press that like button. I would really appreciate it. Let's keep growing, man. Follow me on TikTok, Vacate Fear, for some shoulder action. And I'll see you guys later. Thank you so much. I love ya. Have a good day.